All right, I think we're going.
Okay.
All right,
Yep,
great. Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and the Node.js Committee bi-weekly meeting. Today is June 13th. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Oh. We good? All right. So yeah, we are a little bit delayed. We had a little bit of private stuff to discuss first. We got through that, and now we are moving on to the agenda, which I will post. Let's see. This is the. I guess it doesn't matter. You all know where things are, but there's the agenda. The first thing on. I guess, do we have any updates from any of the working groups or teams?
Yeah, sure, I can start. So we're gonna start the mentorship cohort, like the actual mentorship, on the 20th, next week. I did send an email, we closed the applications for the mentees to apply just yesterday. And we're giving a week for the mentors to choose their top 5 mentees. And after that, the team in the mentorship working group will choose one mentee from those selections for each mentor. And the reason we're doing this to make sure that we have a diverse selection and it's inclusive for different skill levels and different people joining as mentees.
Great. All right. Any other groups? I missed the last user feedback meeting. Michael, were you in there?
Yeah, I was there. We had a little bit of a chat. I think the key things to call out is it sounds like Dan, I don't know, I don't think he said this specifically, but he's, in terms of time, has a few challenges on that front. We did talk a bit about, different areas that would make sense to focus on. One, we talked a bit about you in terms of the surveys, in terms of what next steps we needed to do. Sounded like they're mostly stalled waiting for the requesters to give us a good set of questions.
Yeah, and on that note, I think that I'm just going to take the promises one. I need to look at it again. It's been a couple of months actually. And just try to drive that one forward myself. We've had a lot of progress there, and I'm connected with some of the folks again. So I may just take the baton for that one and just try to drive it forward, okay. And then it as a sort of a first run of having a process for surveys. So we can talk about that more. I think is tomorrow the next meeting?
The week after.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so so we talked, that was the main thing, we needed somebody who's driving them, so it sounds good. And I guess we did talk a little bit about there's still, the meetups at the user feedback at the meetups, it sounds like there's, additional ones being lined up and so forth. So that's kind of ramping up, probably still needs a bit more attention, but is heading off in the right direction.
Yeah, I connected Tracy with a gentleman who's involved in the New York City and the Austin meetups, and he seemed kind of stuck on the whole, how is this bringing value to the community? He's really focused on quality talks that, people are going to want to attend, and he wasn't seeing value on both sides, I guess. Okay. Tracy responded to him, but I don't know if he really was getting it. So we may want to try to figure out a good sort of pitch deck or something that we can send people that really hits the points, for folks that are coming at it from that perspective.
Yeah, I think for now we have enough people showing interest. We don't need to market, but maybe we can understand from them and get some feedback from them whether they thought it went well or not, and that should help support that case.
Yeah, sounds good. Anyone else? Any other groups?
Yeah, I think something also we discussed on the user feedback thing was how we could not duplicate efforts between Node.js Outreach Initiative and the Node.js User Feedback Initiative for user feedback sessions. in such a way that we want to create a link between the outreach initiative and the idea of the outreach initiative, creating up, starting up meetups, creating a meetup.com account, and reaching out to folks that will be able to also champion meetups and run the user feedback sessions. I think Michael and I had some discussions around that, but we've not really had a moving forward ground on how that can be implemented or be done. That was also to be discussed in the user feedback session from last week.
Yeah, I think the discussion of overlap was the user feedback, and the sessions are basically one thing that could be content in meetups. So sort of like the whole thing of helping people build meetups or set up meetups is a larger thing, larger effort that doesn't really overlap, other than the user feedback sessions could be one potential content to suggest for those.
Interesting. All right, great. Anything else? And I just want to call out that Rachel posted a comment about a mentorship blog would be great to socialize as well. All right, great. So moving on to the agenda. The first thing on the agenda here is issue 492, which is to socialize fast approaching end of the CFP for Node.js Interactive. It looks like it's been extended to the 21st. So we have a little bit of time there. And then there's also a call to be a part of the program committee. Do you want to chime in here at all, Rachel, and update us?
Yeah, happy to. So we do basic committee for all of getting that I think we'll find a form, just fill out, it kind of walks you through what the purpose of the program committee is and what the requirements are and what the commitment would be. But essentially, it's just an opportunity to help craft that agenda and make sure that the topics that are important to the community are being represented at the conference. So we're really excited to have wide participation in that.
The one thing I'd add is, I'm not sure if I included you on the email, I may not have, but I've had a repeated request for confirmation that people who have volunteered are actually in the list. So I might have sent it to Sarah instead of you, which maybe is the reason we haven't gotten an answer, but like there's been at least one person who's like, hey, I volunteered, but I'm not convinced, or I don't know. I didn't get any confirmation to know that I'm actually on the list of people who will be consulted once it gets started.
Me also.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think sending out an email saying, hey, thanks, here's our list, you're on the list, would be.
Sure. And I believe, I believe that there was a sort of a call for participation on one of these calls, and then there was a list made from that. And then there's also a form happening. So if you haven't submitted on the form, I would just go and submit on the form just to be sure. I'm happy to dig up that list because I know that there is one. My concern would be that that list didn't get transferred onto that form. Do you know what I mean?
Right, and that's where people are like, I think there's actually even an issue opened.
Okay.
Where is that? I'm looking for that. See if I can find that.
Maybe it would be.
Like I don't think we can say go and resubmit, because people who aren't here or watching this don't need to resubmit, right? It's
no. If they've already gone on the form, then they should be good. I can check with the event folks and make sure that people are getting notified that they are on that list if that's the request. I'm understanding
Yeah, that's the
request.
request is like an active confirmation. There's an issue where somebody actually said, "Hey, can I get confirmation?" And I'm trying to find where that issue was. It was one of the issues in the CPC, sorry, in the ComCom repo.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as I remember, previously we discussed this in ComCom meeting. Sarah was there and she asked if anyone from the ComCom want to volunteer, just let me know. And Terry, I, and Michael and few other people just told her away, and she said, I'll like note it down, maybe create a list. I don't know, but yeah, that was the only communication I think happened with me.
I'll dig that list up because I'm sure I have access to that list, and I can send that over to the event folks and make sure that it's good. The very, very best way to make sure that you are on the program committee list is to follow that link and fill out the form. If you haven't done that, that would be like my highest recommendation, just to ensure.
I think we need to find that issue though, because there's like an issue out there that's where there's a couple of, hey, can you confirm? Hey, can you confirm?
Okay.
And it's dead air. So at least, posting that answer there would make sense.
All right, I'll take that as an action item to find that issue, and make sure that the loop is closed on that.
Okay. Yeah, if you can't find it, let me know, but hopefully you can. And
I want to say I remember. It sounds familiar. It does sound familiar, so I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find it.
Okay.
All right, great. And the date is extended. So is there anything more on this issue? Should we move along? I think we're good. All right, great.
Yeah.
So next issue is allow champions to be ComCom regular members, not just voting members. This is issue number 489 in ComCom. This is created by Adam and was born out of the ComCom session at the Collab Summit. Both Adam and Tierney are tagged as assignees, and neither of them are on the call. So does anyone want to give some context here, or should we talk about it when they are on the call? I'll also add that it says proposal details to follow. So since maybe there isn't any proposal details, we should save this one for next time.
Makes sense to me.
All right, very good. Let's see, discuss Collab Summit process, progress, that is. This issue is closed, so I don't know if there's anything that needs to be discussed here.
I think it was just left on as an update leading up to the summit, so I think now it should be closed.
Okay. All right, so it is closed already, so we will move on from this one as well. Node.js social media community collaboration, issue number 444 in ComCom. It looks like, Rachel, you have the last comment here, May 13th. Maybe you could chime in here and let us know what the status is for this and some context.
Sure. So actually, I want to say this and the next few things are all related. So let's kind of the context. This has kind of been an ongoing discussion here for a while. The last time went around, one was the social media chair blog, and I did get some comments around that. Specifically, just some things to maybe take out, which have been noted. And then the plan was to discuss this more in depth at the Collaborator Summit, which was done. It was a really good conversation. I lead partnership on that. He helped co-facilitate that, and he got that going. So thank you so much. And I posted some notes from that session, some observations and some next steps. in an issue here. Let me drop that in. I'm going to drop that in the chat.
Great.
So I can kind of see. If I can find that now.
If Derini is in the call, can someone add him as a host?
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think it maybe that Rachel needs to, oh yeah, somebody did promote him. Good.
yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so
Hey, Journey.
So I've gone ahead and I've dropped those notes from the collaborator summit. So we can certainly go through these observations and recommendations and some of the things that folks have said. It was Waleed, I don't know if you want to kind of jump in and some of the things that we've discussed, or I can kind of just go through.
Yeah, you can just go through.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah.
So some of the general recommendations and guidelines here were to have specific people for specific weeks or specific sets of time to be reviewers for the collection, and then again to use the Medio platform to get submissions reviewed and approved. Right now, there's a lot of there's probably a lot of inefficiencies in our process, and if we can use Medium to kind of get those things posted, we can probably make things go a little quicker. One of the recommendations was to form a small blog team or a subcommittee around this content, and then also to talk about what we think our goals should be. I think a lot of this should be open for discussion, and maybe we're not going to be able to get to it in this meeting. I also don't think that we should, stop progress on this if we're not quite sure what the goal should be. I mean, I think there's some things that we can move forward with. We talked about incentives. Badges and stickers seem to be popular with the group. I know that Manil had talked about a Node.js thank you program. So that's something we can kind of figure out. One of the things that has been open for a while, so this is more towards content, but this is just kind of the way the discussion at the Collab Summit went. Definitely more focused on content versus social. So this is the submitting reviewing process that's the thing. And I'm happy to read through this. I don't know if it makes sense for folks to kind of read this and give me their feedback. What does the group think? I mean, I'm happy to read it line for line.
No, I think it would be good if all the members can just go through the issue and provide their comments, and maybe we can discuss. So yeah, this will take long. Maybe we need to discuss in the next meeting again. And
yeah. So essentially the idea for these process to get this process in place is just to kind of give more guidelines on what actually the step-by-step is. Right now it's a little bit unclear, to everybody who's either contributing or participating what exactly is, what exactly the process is. So I think it would be good to kind of shed some light on what it looks like and what the expectations are, kind of across the board. And so, people can either submit an idea or they can submit a full draft. And there's two different ways to think about that. So I have that all built out in the issue. And so I think it would be good for folks to kind of take a look at that and provide feedback on what that looks like. It hasn't changed much from what was initially proposed. Any comments or feedback for that, or should we just keep moving down the list?
I think, Rachel, one thing we can do is for the process of becoming a technical reviewer, you can send the draft in the email to the ComCom.
Okay.
And for the rest of the things, like the discussion can carry on the issue itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm clear. Like, are we good with this? Like, should we wrap this topic up, or should I keep going? I'm sorry.
No, you can keep going.
Okay. We actually the content. We've got lots of great recommendations around how to get more content sources for more content. It was actually very, very helpful. Let me see. And we can probably come on down to social media. I think if you look at our social media feed today, a lot of what performs well or what the community likes are, open-ended questions. And one of the things that kind of came out of that was like an ask me anything type thing, which I know that Manila actually brought up in a different meeting. But I think there's some cool things we can do around, using Twitter to get question answers around the project or what, how to get started and things like that. I'm just going to kind of come on down here to next steps. So I think this is kind of where the rubber meets the road and where we can kind of make some actionable decisions here. So for next steps for the collection, I'm looking for feedback / approval for the new submission or review process. And then once we kind of get that in a place where everybody's comfortable, I can get that up on GitHub and update. And there was an original issue when this kind of all first kicked off. And then also, if there are other ways that folks feel like we could build our Node.js collection content pipeline, there's some good recommendations in here. I do feel like, y'all are a wealth of knowledge, and I'm sure that you guys also have, or you all have some other, some other ideas too. And then the next point for social media, if folks have, folks are good with the blog, we can kind of get the ball rolling on that. And then, just additional ideas to get social content. I know that there were a couple of recommendations on how to either crowdsource some of that, if we want to explore that a little bit. I'm definitely all ears.
So
Go
ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying that's the end of my update, and I think we can open the floor for discussion.
Cool. So one of the questions I've had, and I don't know if this has been even looked into, I'm curious to see if we've actually seen, outside of how relevant or how often we're posting, if we've actually seen any kind of drops since on the Medium content, since there's been a relative move away from Medium in the developer community, just because of basically the policies they're implementing around gating content unnecessarily. I'm wondering if we've kind of had any insight into that and how it affects what we're doing.
So as far as our engagement with,
yeah, compared to what it was before, effectively.
If you can give me sort of like that, I haven't seen anything, and I'm reporting on it monthly. But is there a specific date? Like what before would look like? I'm familiar with what you're referencing. So I mean, I'm happy to do this as well. I haven't seen a noticeable drop off in any of our analytics. What I have seen is a drop off in people doing things.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure if that's because we've kind of been having this conversation for a while, and so it's not like we've got a full call for contributors, that kind of thing. But I'm happy to take a look.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can go and
specifically around those dates.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was like roughly 3-ish months ago, or like within the last 3 months. Another question I have, and this is definitely not something that we can implement now, but the idea of effectively centralizing this content on the Node.js website once the new website launches, which is not in the it's not a close timeline, it's like a little bit of a longer timeline. But centralizing this content into, centralizing the process of this and the actual publishing of it into the Node website, and then syndicating it out from there. So we're actually getting, this is totally like a growth hacker thing. I'm not trying to get too marketing-y here, but that's where my background is at this point with this kind of content stuff. Basically centralizing it and then using canonical links, so we could actually utilize multiple platforms and get this out more broadly rather than less broadly. So having it on the Node website and then using Medium's import tool from RSS feeds, and also things like Dev2 Practical Dev, or Dev is the official name, I guess. And then a few other sources as well that we could possibly start not outsourcing, but like redistributing this content to get maximal reach, and just get also more benefit, SEO benefit to the Node website.
I think it makes sense. I would just want to know if we implemented a process around submitting using Medium as a platform, how that would transfer over. But I mean, I hear you, and I agree with you. There's on the Node site.
So I definitely,
it's something that we should definitely look into that and see. See how we can make that work.
Yeah. And there's a few things, a few suggestions I could have that we could explore at the time. It's a little bit far out, but I definitely did want to get that on the radar just because of how things are going with Medium. I'm not super convinced it's a long-term sustainable platform for technical content. So I just want to kind of be sure we're on top of that before it bites us.
No, I definitely appreciate you bringing that up, and just to have that conversation today. So that's awesome. Love it.
Well, I think the first thing we should, I totally agree with Danny, but the most, I think, important thing which we lacking is to have a standard submission process and the review process for all the posts, like some Trello board or something, as we discussed in the thing. So maybe we can discuss this thing in detail in the next meeting, or if anyone has suggestions from the ComCon to standardize our Node.js collection submission process.
So I think there's, I think a Trello board is a good idea, or some not necessarily maybe Trello, but just any tool that allows us to do that. I think that's a good idea, and I think we should try to move forward with that, whether it's Trello or some kind of Airtable thing or something else. Just something that works, that allows us to kind of visualize this and also make it public as public as possible, just so people can also kind of participate and engage at that level. That would be good.
Yeah, okay, so I can look into the few options we have, like Trello. With maybe Rachel can also can suggest, and then we can maybe create a new issue in the ComCom or in the collection repo and start implementing it. Rachel, what you think?
Yeah, I guess that works for me.
Okay. And the other thing is, I don't know why the ComCom people don't have the access to Node.js collection repo. I don't know. Should we? Who should we ask?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Access to Node.js collection repo.
What's the question around it though?
For the ComCom people to have to approve the PR or merge it.
This should be on. That should be on the people who are involved in it, and not necessarily just ComCom.
Okay, so I wanted to have access because I was involved in the Node.js collection in the process. Okay. So
I don't know. I believe talk to Adam. He's the one who can. I can technically give you access. I'm not supposed to. Just because I have ownership via moderation, which is not intended to be used in that way. So Adam, as a general thing, whoever is the chair of ComCom is the person who can and should be giving that access out.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah.
Do we have any more to discuss in this area? Because if not, we skipped over something because neither Adam nor Tierney were here, and we can double back on that. It was issue number 489 in ComCom. It's allow champions to be ComCom regular members, not just voting members. Emerged from ComCom session, proposal details to follow per Adam Miller. Do you want to give any context on this, Tierney, and update, or should we just save it for next time?
I'm happy to give some context. And I don't know if there's necessarily an update, but context. So this is something that was raised at the ComCom session that I kind of threw on the calendar at the Collaborator Summit. And one of I believe I'm the one who raised the point, although I could be off. One of the things that I've noticed about how the CPC works is that there's the voting membership and regular membership. That's a very interesting model. It doesn't necessarily lead from regular membership into voting membership, but it allows everyone to participate at a level of finding consensus. And so it helps relieve the burden a bit on the voting membership by having other people who are interested and want to participate be able to participate and not necessarily have to go through a massive process that is very gated and limited. So that's a very interesting process. And I think with how our membership process is currently structured, it actually fills in a gap for us. How our membership is structured right now is somehow from strategic initiatives, people can be selected to be ComCom members or get in somehow. That process is in place. There's not actually a bridge from, okay, I am this collaborator on a strategic issue or a strategic initiative to I am now a ComCom member. There is no path to do that. And if you actually look at how we have done membership since that change, we've had no new members. So that identifies to me that there's nobody engaging with the project in the way that we intended it to, which that could be partially us attracting people to strategic initiatives. That could also be us providing a path to kind of leveling up. And as such, I think that implementing something like regular membership is actually a smart move for us because it allows us to have a bridge from one, having people come in from strategic initiatives and contributing that way, and then participating in the ComCom meetings in that way, or coming into ComCom and participating in that way and actually making significant contributions without necessarily being a voting member. It also takes it helps lower the barrier to participating in actual consensus. I know that there have been things in the past where people have come in and contributed a lot, and not been able to kind of level up past that. Or find an easy way without talking to someone one-on-one, which is a lot of what I did when I was chair, to get that. So I think that introducing a regular membership tier or level as a official thing in ComCom could be a good approach for us to actually enable more contribution, more collaboration. I don't think it is a catch-all or for some of the engagement problems we've had. But I do think it's a step in the right direction. And again, I don't think it'll actually solve any of that, but I do think it is a good step.
Yeah, I'll just add one or two comments on that. And I'm not disagreeing that like another level of membership doesn't make sense. One thing that is different in the CPC is that in terms of voting members, there's actually just a very limited set number that can actually be, right? Like it's specifically, there are so many from these different projects, so that if you limit it to voting members, even somebody who's super active, you have no way to get them in necessarily.
Right.
In the case of the ComCom, at least anybody can be nominated if they're making the contribution and get in. So it's slightly different in terms of like that problem. But
right, and
having another way that we invite people in doesn't mean it's not to say that that's still not a good idea, is what I want to say.
Yeah, I totally get that. And that number is also theoretically limited based on how many projects there are in like certain cases. Like there could theoretically be an unlimited number of top level initiatives or impact projects.
Yes.
So it's like it's a weird limitation, but it is a relative limitation.
It's sort of the limitation though, that like if you have if say for Node, we have 3 people who want to be super active, you can only have 2, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's partially to address that aspect of like, hey, if there's a big project, then yeah, they're still only going to have so many voting members, but we can get some other people in.
Yeah, so I definitely see the differences there. And, I do think that how membership has progressed since we implemented this kind of speaks to there being a gap there. Whether or not, regardless of the source, I think we have identified a gap in how to get involved. Previously, It was come participate in the meetings, which was like a relatively low barrier. Which was why we implemented what we did. But it turns out what we implemented is a relatively high barrier that prevents people from basically engaging. So,
right. I think something that says come and engage in the meetings. On the CPC side, there's like a requirement that you be active in one of the projects. I don't think that would really apply in this case necessarily, would it?
Yeah, I mean, we could make that apply. I don't know if what the benefit and drawback of making it or not making it apply is. Like, I think we'd want to talk about that a bit more, because you could say you have to be involved in strategic initiatives.
Right. But then do you have the same chicken and the egg, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So you could, I'm just, thinking like through those things, there's that aspect, then there's the participation in the consensus seeking. If you want to invite everybody to the meeting, do you want to also invite everybody to participate in that? Now, implicitly by being there, you are, right? But whether it's like formally you can object and so forth, that's kind of the other aspect.
Yeah. And that's a good question that I don't have an answer to.
Yeah, because you could just make it like observers, like, hey, anybody's free to come to the meeting, and make that more explicit. I think it's not far off that anyway now, in that the meeting link is out there.
And to be fair, that's how we've done it before. So. Well, yeah, I think it's something interesting to consider. I don't know if there's something we can finalize on it. I think we may want to have another discussion about it at greater depth. But and also it won't take us like what 8 months this time to get it changed because the CPC exists and they're the ones who will approve this kind of charter change, so that's good. That makes me so happy. That was a lot of my life. But yeah. If we do want to go down this path or any other path, I should be explicit. This isn't like the only path. I do think that there are things we need to address in getting more people involved. It's hard, but I do think that this is something we should be digging into a bit more, especially like, Olivia at one point, a former ComCom member, had a tracker of basically representation or like what kind of groups you represent for ComCom membership. And as time went on, it got more and more homogenous, which is very much how it is right now. So I would definitely like us to see what we can do to kind of make sure we are being open and inclusive and actually having a diverse set of people engaging in the ComCom.
Yeah, I agree, and that bubble that kind of feeds its way all the way up. The CPC is not very diverse, and that's something we need to work to change from the top and from the bottom, and really try to focus on that. Anyway, we're out of time.
So I think, like Tierney, if you wanted to make a proposal, that's a good way to get the discussion started, right?
Yep.
Basically, I suppose we add this new type of member. Or here's, maybe I think the few things we talked about are the key things to sort of put your thoughts to. Starting point, and then everybody can say something concrete and written down. Will get people thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go ahead and work on that PR. I will not be in the next couple weeks just because I'm traveling and working on talks. But after that, I should be able to kind of begin to work on this proposal.
Sounds good.
Great.
Okay. I would like to add one last thing about the CFP review for Node.js Interactive. Richard, there was an email from Sarah with subject for your review, Node+JS Interactive CFP. I think it included all the people who showed interest in being in the review process. So, yeah. We cannot hear you, sorry.
Look at that.
Great. All right, cool. Well, we are over time, but thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Tierney.
See you all next time.
Cheers,
Bye.
all.
Bye.
Yeah.